What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about the marketing strategy for Warner Bros. Montreal. I want to talk about how they've done so far. You know, we've talked about when are they going to give us, Red Hood. In fact, today is probably the day, by the way, that we get. I know I thought it was going to be last week. I got my weeks crossed. I got my wires crossed in my head, which got the weeks crossed. I think they're operating on like an every 2 weeks thing. That's what a couple people have told me. So today, a couple hours from right now, we should get the gear menu for Red Hood, which, by the way, I will be covering. I'll talk about that maybe on like a Sunday video. We can do it for Sunday. So there will be another video in just a few days from now. But I'm basically on the morning of this thing happening. I do want to talk about what they've done so far, and I know there's a lot of people, at least I've seen it, that have been pretty frustrated at what they've done. I want to talk about what they've done and talk about if it actually is good or bad. I'll kind of spoil it for you because I know I titled it and maybe people will get mad at the title. I don't think it is all that bad. In fact, I think it's actually really solid, way better than what I thought they would do, okay? But first, if you guys do like all this stuff, make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed to this channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. You can always follow me at Twitter. Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter username. I have a Discord server. I have a second channel, Podcast Now Plus. All three of those things are in the description below if you guys want to check it out, okay? It would be much appreciated. So let's talk about this. I think, again, they've done a pretty solid job. So remember, my prediction, which I will hold true that I was right, okay, is the I don't even know what kind of word or phrase you want to say it, but like this area of darkness, right, or this time period where they're in the dark. It's what they've done, okay? When the game got announced, we got the trailer, we got the gameplay trailer, we got interviews galore, right? For those the first couple days, there was like an interview on every website. There were things that created websites just to make an interview with them, right? There was a lot. And then it died down, but there was still a couple. I remember like a solid week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks, there were still articles on like interviewing, a couple of the people that worked there. And we got pretty much the same stuff over and over because you can only ask, if you think about it, you can only ask so many things based off of what we know, right? And these journalists pretty much asked the exact same thing. Now we got tidbits, we got small little details here and there that we could maybe make bigger, right? We can kind of look at it and say, were they hinting at something else? So we got stuff. Then what'd they do? Well, I would argue, and I would say I'm right. And the only reason I'm saying that, I'm not gloating. It's because everybody always says that I'm wrong, but in reality, I actually do predict quite a few things. So I do like to make it known when I do get things right, so people are just aware of that. Okay, so they did go dark. They went dark, and what we've gotten now, obviously, is on Twitter. We'll get a picture here and there. We'll get the gear. We'll get the fan art. We'll get pretty much that's it, right? And they do it once a week. The job listings, by the way, they don't count. Let's just pretend like they're not doing it. I still don't know why they do it. If you're looking, let me just throw this out there real fast. This is not a super insult, but this is something that I just want to say. If you're in the industry, like if you're an employee, don't you think like you already went on their site and like looked at their position? Like who's working in the gaming industry as whatever, pick one of the jobs that they've listed. Who is one of those people that is sitting there on Twitter waiting for them to tweet that to say, oh, this is the first time I've seen that they have an offer? You know what I mean? You think if you're not even desperate, but if you want a job, you would, and you say, hey, I live in Montreal or I want to work there, I'll just go to their website and see if they have positions. I don't work in the industry, but I go on, publisher and developers' websites all the time, literally all the time. So I see all of those things. So I don't know why they do that on Twitter. That's just an aside. But I think they've done a very reasonable job at for what they've attempted to do. Again, we've gotten the fan art, which I think has given people creative expression. Okay, now I'm not an artist, right? Actually, my wife does all of the thumbnails and like the creative stuff, the visual stuff on this channel. So I'm not somebody who can draw stuff. So it is cool. It's something that I think people that are into that, it gets them, more connected to these characters that they've already announced, right? The gear stuff, I do think is like multi-layered, where it's like, okay, you get a little bit more of a deep dive into the character, but we can look at it and say, okay, well, We're looking at, I think, like color palettes, how we can obviously change the color of certain things. Obviously, we get to see what some gear does for the character, so things that you can maybe modify or swap in and out, or, we can see a little bit, or we can predict, because we can't actually see it, maybe how these characters are going to move around, how they're going to fight, how they're going to operate, right? And we get all that from the gear. So I would say they've done solid. Now, Red Hood obviously is missing, but Red Hood we should probably get now. The thing is, obviously, everybody wants the gameplay for Nightwing and Red Hood. I don't think that's unfair to say, and I get it. And I've been saying, that's really, if you guys are new, that's what I've been saying we're gonna get next for the longest time, right? It seems pretty clear that they for whatever reason, they wanted to split this up in half, where it's like Robin and Batgirl are not more important than Red Hood and Nightwing. It's just the fact that they showed them first, and they still have two characters that, because if you think, and I've said this before, right? If you think about it, you could play through this entire game as Red Hood or as Nightwing. You don't have to play it as Batgirl or Robin. So they showed us them, but we don't even know what the other two look like. But in reality, people could only play as those two. In fact, I know people have done polls. I feel like Red Hood's going to be a very, very popular character. I also think Batgirl. I feel like Batgirl and Red Hood, when all's said and done, are going to be the two people that players play the most. I really do think that. So obviously that needs to come. But again, I will say that I was right with the thing of silence, because they're not doing interviews. They're not doing gameplay. They're not doing trailers, right? They're showing us a picture of a cafe. They're showing us a picture of the Belfry. They're showing us the gear picture of these characters. That I would still say is being pretty darn quiet. And they're doing it around once a week, okay? And you also have to think, by the way, too, the game is probably releasing in the first half, even to be nice to it, right? I know I've said February, March. Some people have said like May. Some people said January. Let's say first half of the year, so before the end of June. We have to go somewhat fast, right? Because we're getting there, and we're going to have to get more gameplay, and we're going to see more trailers, and we're going to get more villains, and we're going to get, more of a build-up to this game of what exactly we're going to be doing in a minute-to-minute basis on this game. I think for right now, this is actually more than what I expected. And that's why, to anybody that would maybe be disappointed by what they've done, and I know maybe the comments will just be, hey, all we want is Red Hood and Nightwing, right? At the same time, people always say, all we want is this, and then when they get that, they'll say, all we want is that other thing. I'm not saying you guys are that. I'm saying just in general, when somebody gives somebody something, they most times move on to the next thing, right? That's just generally how it works. I'm not even saying that's a bad thing, because that's just, I think, in our nature, especially in, like, literally you and me, our nature of being a fan of these games and being in this world of wanting it, and the leaks and the rumors for years, right? Obviously, it's a little bit different for us, because it's like we're so close now. We're in like the final stretch. Yeah, it's still several months away, but in the grand scheme of 7 years or 5 years or 4 years, depending on how long you've been part of it, it's been a very long time, right? But I would say, you look around the gaming industry, and this is why I'm right with the time of darkness that these developers and publishers go on. Look around. Everybody does it. You announce your game, you do some interviews, that's common, and then you go away. You go away, and you come back for a show, or you come back every, I don't know, maybe you get mentioned in a like a financial report for like a quarter. Maybe you show up a year later. You look at Sony. Look at what they did with The Last of Us, which, yeah, look how it came out at the end, but look at what they did for the years before. It kept, I would say, very steady enthusiasm and momentum, and it showed itself like once a year for like 2-3 years, and then it picked up. Okay? Really, any Sony game does that for the most part. Microsoft, same thing. Nintendo, same thing. Nintendo, I think, does it a little bit closer to the launch, but even look at like Breath of the Wild, right? Or Breath of the Wild 2 in this case. So everybody does it. Everybody does it. Now, I guess we're maybe not used to seeing it so much with Warner Bros. Because Warner Bros. Announces their game and it comes out 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, which in that case, yeah, it kind of is a super fast race to the finish line. But I'll even give you examples like GTA. Remember, GTA 5 was announced at E3 that June, and it came out that September, I believe, okay? And it was dark in July. They didn't say anything. Then in August, they started doing the diaries, the development diaries, and they started going through it. Red Dead 2 did the same thing. It was dark for quite a while. I think it was dark even, the game came out in October. I think it was dark until end of August, and then they started doing YouTube videos on it. Again, like the development diaries. So That's just how it works. So I would say for anybody that's disappointed in what they've shown, I would say take a deep breath. That's the first thing. Everybody needs to take a deep breath. I need to sometimes breathe, right, because I just talk nonstop. Take a deep breath, step away, and say, well, what does everybody else do? What's the path of these game developers? And the path is you announce a game, you go silent. You may not see that game again for another year. Look at other examples, and this is the final thing I'll say. Look at like BioShock. We know there's a new BioShock game. They announced it. They actually announced it. In fact, look at Rockstar. They announced technically GTA 6. We know there's a GTA 6 in development. I would call it an announcement. But are we going to see those games for another? Did we see those games? No. Are we going to see those games anytime soon? No. So those are also good examples. We know the games are real. They told us it, but we're not seeing them for a very long time, and that's okay because that's how it works. That's literally how it works. So that's all I would say. I'm not saying people are, they don't know what's going on, but I would say just relax and look around, look at the history of these games and say, this is what happens. We're going to get stuff very soon. I really do believe that. And then when it gets closer, within a few months of release, it goes fast. Look at now I'm not saying everybody does what Miles Morales did. Insomniac promoted that thing like daily for like 2 months. Nobody really actually, they only did that because it's Spider-Man and because it was something that Sony wanted to pump up for the PS5. I truly believe that. I'm not going to let anybody tell me differently because I just think that's the way it went. Nobody really promotes the way Insomniac promoted Miles, okay? Some would argue it was, I liked it, but I would also say it was definitely overkill. That was way too much stuff that they did leading into it. But with that being said, that's the way they chose to do it. But normally, that is more of the norm, though, that you get a lot of stuff right before the game releases. You don't maybe get it daily for months, but you do get more stuff then than you do, say, 6-7 months before the game comes out. Okay? So let me know, guys, in the comments below. What do you think? Are you disappointed with how they've handled it? Do you think, this is better than you expected? Let me know. Again, as always, make sure you guys are subscribed, have the bell icon turned on so you know when all these videos go up. Again, you can follow me on Twitter, Podcast Now 15. I have a Discord server. I have a second channel, Podcast Now Plus. You can check out any of those in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. I hope to see you guys on the next video.